Oh. Oh. Well, Madison Eshelman, welcome back to the pod.
This is fun.
I know. I'm
when
so
was
excited.
the last one?
You know, I actually meant to look it up, but I know it's episode 60 and 61, but I didn't look at the date.
Like, it could have been 2 years ago, could be a year ago. I have no concept.
I feel like it was probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
I imagine 2.
Like, if I think back to, like, life events.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I moved over a year ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. So I'm guessing 2 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Because it took me a while. So for everyone, you are a guest that's already been on. Mm-hmm. So I did want to just, like, up top say, like, I feel like this is going to be an extension of those 2 episodes. It's like one episode split into 2, 60 and 61. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, you know, maybe go back, listen to that one if you haven't.
Yeah, I bet it'd be fun to see. We're completely different people.
So different.
But
That's
I feel like
part of what I want to talk about.
This is so fun.
I know, because I went back and listened to it and I was like, oh my gosh. So for anyone that doesn't know, before, like, so I had you on and I hadn't worked with you and I really hadn't. I'd been to, like, therapy like twice. Mm-hmm. And after that, life events happened and I was like, okay, I need to do this. Mm-hmm. So I've been having sessions with you for like a year, maybe a little over a year.
I think over a year.
Yeah, because it was before you moved, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I know. Part of it feels like it hasn't been that long.
I know.
On the other hand, it's like, yeah, we've done a lot of work, so it makes sense that it's been that long.
I know everyone's like healing like journey is different. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel like there's so much more to do. And then other days I'm like, no, I'm completely different.
Literally.
So.
Well, that's what's fun about it. Both are true.
Right.
You are both completely different than you were when we started.
That's true.
And a year from now, if you continue, you will be completely different than you are. Like, we'll be looking back at these versions of ourselves,
I know,
thinking the same thing.
I know. And I was like thinking about that too the other day of I keep like meeting new versions of me. I think this is just going to happen for the rest of my life. And it's kind of not scary, but like it's exciting and also like confusing. It's like, oh, who will I be like in 6 months, a year, 10 years?
For me, it's so exciting. The version I know of you is so much more free now, so much more confident.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're so much more self-assured and closer to goals you didn't even know you had.
Right.
Like, I'm thinking about things that you're doing and manifesting right now that version of you maybe didn't even know that you wanted.
I think maybe deep down all along, because that's one thing that I was going to mention at the end, but since it's kind of coming up in like the second, like 61, episode 61, I mention maybe I'll just write a book one day.
Oh, do you?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because now I'm literally writing a book.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, ooh, spoke it into existence.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And I think it was kind of a joke, but
no,
like
on some level it was.
Right.
You knew.
Right. Right. I did want to say up top, because I feel like everyone, meaning everyone, but I feel like everyone deserves to hear kind of like when someone impacts them. I wanted to, I don't know, this will be awkward.
No, tell me.
But I did just want to say up top that you specifically mean so much to me, and you have changed my life in so many ways, like more than I can even count. I'm not saying that everyone has to see you, but I 10 out of 10 recommend. But I think just investing in yourself is so like loving, and I'm so glad I took that step. And like when I was like thinking about like what I wanted to say about this is, I mean, I'm sure like all of my friends and all my family can attest to this, but like probably even podcast listeners, my head was so chaotic. And I literally was like suffering every single day, even though I didn't really realize. Like I probably did, but like I was doing the best I could, and we kept saying that in those episodes, which is totally true. But I guess I didn't fully realize that you can be free of all of that.
Yeah.
And like know what peace feels like. And, you know, like, you've just given me so many tools and, like, freed me of so many. I think I was explaining this to you just yesterday because it was our session.
Yeah.
But, like, the layers of survival that I had to, like, build up, because I was just in survival mode. Like, it looked like I was thriving. It looked this and that. But, like, every aspect of my life was, like, a trauma response, survival. And I've been, like, able to, like, peel back those layers and, like, find myself, which is so exciting. And, like, even though, like, the human existence is, like, the point is to feel emotions. And so even though, like, I'm not free of, like, sadness, anger, you know, so, like, this, like, what people consider suffering, I'm able to, like, know how to move through it and feel it and, like, let it feel okay.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say that to you up top.
Thank you.
So, like, so everyone can hear.
No, seriously, I appreciate it. I feel like you are also very good at, like, when I think over the years, like, you're so good at giving me that feedback throughout. Like, I have texts from you and sweet things, so it's always encouraging.
It's like when something's, like, so life changing, like, you deserve that. Like, I know, like, we work together. So, like, I know it's, like, the hard work that I'm doing to show up. But, like, if I didn't have you to, like, kind of sometimes help, like, guide me there, like, 90% of the time, like, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. We need people.
yeah.
We need each other. Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I do feel like you coming on the podcast for episode 60 and 61 and us talking, and it turned into, like, my therapy session at that point. And
I should have listened to it before this. You mentioned it, and I should have done it.
I was actually okay with that because I wanted to, like, tell you, like, pieces and bits of it, so I didn't, like, say, like, hey, listen to this, just because I wanted you to be, like, just as shocked as I was when I was listening to it, like, before the camera.
Cool.
One thing that you had mentioned on at the end of that last episode was that you were starting self-seeking school.
Yes.
And so that's another thing that has changed. So I do want to get into, like, different topics, but just up top, so people, like, I know you gave a brief overview of Groundwork Coaching, but can you do that again for this episode?
Yeah.
And then explain what self-seeking school is and why someone might go to one versus the other really quick?
Yes, happily. Okay, so self-seeking school is super fun to talk about because I don't remember what I said last time, but I know that it's entirely different than it is now. So self-seeking school has shifted really to an anxious attachment audience. So we're serving, like, an anxious attachment population at this point.
Okay.
I mean, the materials that we've created are truly anyone would benefit from, especially the anger resource. That's kind of what we've focused on helping. So right now we have an amazing anger resource. You've read through it, right?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
It's called The Ultimate Guide to Anger, completely free.
How do we get that?
Good question. It's in our bio on Instagram. So if you follow at Self-Seeking School is the handle. It's in the Self Essentials workshop, which I'll get into in a second, and the anger guide are both in that bio. But the anger resource is completely free, and honestly, we're going to talk about anger today probably. Yeah. But it's the most misunderstood emotion and the most repressed emotion. And so because of that, it leads to so many problems in people that don't even realize that repressed anger is the problem too. Yeah. So I'm obsessed with that, and that's why we made it free, because we just want to get this information out into the world.
Yeah.
And then we have the Self Essentials workshop, which really teaches people. A lot of therapy goes into one aspect of the self, like CBT goes into the brain and somatics goes into the body, right? Like all these different things go into a specific part, but really you need to be connected to your mind, to your body, and your heart to have a holistic therapy approach. Right. And that's what the Self Essentials workshop teaches. Again, there's a lot of anxious attachment lingo in there, but honestly, anyone who wants to get into therapy or who has been in therapy and feels disappointed in therapy would really benefit from that. Okay. So that's what Self-Seeking School has as of now.
Question, is that a good resource for someone that might be nervous to work with someone?
Yes.
If they might feel more comfortable starting solo?
Yeah. It's a really good, what's interesting about it, I feel like it's a really good intro point, and it's also a really good point if you've been disappointed in therapy.
Okay.
Because I think it points to like people are disappointed and they don't really know why. And I think the workshop will help give clarity on that because you'll see what pieces have been missing in your own therapy.
Okay.
Or if you're new to therapy, you won't then have that experience that a lot of people have.
Okay.
You know, because you'll have the holistic approach. So,
okay.
Yes. So that's Self-Seeking School. Groundwork Academy is my own program, the one that you're in.
Yep.
And that's where I do the one-on-one coaching. And there's a 12-week kind of, I'm curious how you would describe it, but like an overview.
Yeah.
I just made an overview of the concepts that really changed my life.
Yeah.
And
I call it my homework.
yeah, it's the homework. And it's really the actual coursework is the stuff that I want to empower everybody. It's the stuff that I know.
Yeah.
I want all of my clients to know what I know. I don't ever want to be the person who has the power. I don't want there to be a hierarchy. And I do that through when anyone works with me, they're also getting the coursework.
Yeah.
So anytime that I'm mentioning a concept, I'm referencing something that you've already learned, so we're empowered together.
Yeah.
Rather than you just taking my word for it.
Yeah.
So 12-week program, but then obviously people can work with me beyond the 12 weeks.
Prime example.
Prime example. Yeah.
For me personally, I obviously didn't know until I started it, but I really appreciated the coursework because it allowed like reflection. And sometimes I think I still kind of deal with this sometimes, but when working with another person, like vulnerability can feel scary sometimes. And so if like you were doing a meditation or like a journal prompt, like for like in the actual course, I'm by myself, I can let anything come up that comes up. And then I would just make a note of that. And then I would bring that to like the session. And so it allowed me to really process, and then that way like you're not spending the session teaching me. I was already taught whatever week you're on or module. And then we would do the session and focus on that.
Yeah, that's the reason I like it too. I feel like it makes the work go much faster.
Yeah.
A lot of times therapy can feel really slow, but it's like we're not wasting time in the session doing the stuff that you could be doing on your own.
Right.
We get to get deep into the stuff because you've done the psychoeducation piece on your own. And
that kind of, sorry, I feel like I'm taking over your explanation here, but
no, do it.
When I was like giving you examples on the last episode of like, why would I do this? Or why would this happen? And you would explain like, it's kind of, we can talk about it, but until you do the work, you don't fully understand. And like, we like sometimes giggle about that, like in sessions. Yeah. And so I did just like want to like also remind people of that. Like this session is like so intentional, and it's such like a feelings based of expressing and really getting to the core. And so like, I know you'll do your best to explain things on this episode and like,
and it'll be limited.
Yeah. And you're wonderful in the last episodes too, but it really is. It's like once you don't know until you know. Yeah. And then you can never go back.
I know. It's so true. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah. It's very experiential.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we need an analogy for that. Like what else in life is like that? I mean, a lot of things, but it's like you truly can't understand it until you experience it.
I know.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm kind of bad with analogies sometimes.
We'll think of one, I'm sure.
I know.
I guess one more thing that I would say is I always talk about the structured element because a lot of times people have bad experiences in therapy because they just feel like they're kind of like floating in an abyss. And it can feel like, what are we doing? I know a lot of my friends who go to therapy are like, I don't know what to talk about. And then I get there and the therapist is like, what do you want to talk about? And I don't know. And we just stare at each other. That's why one of the reasons I structured Groundwork the way that I did is because it gives you structured things to know where we're going. Like there's like a roadmap. Here's where we're going, why we're going there. Yeah. So you're never really in the dark.
That's a good point. And you take notes, and it's rare that I don't have something to talk about.
Right. And even if you didn't, which has never happened, but if you didn't, there's a structure for us to figure out what needs to be prioritized.
Yeah. And like you can pull from
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I think that maybe happened once.
But I love working with you so much because it's like you come and you're like, we got these 5 options. Let's pick the top one. It's really fun.
Yeah, we never get to all of them.
Yeah, it's fun.
Eventually. I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah. Okay. And you have a trigger tracking journal.
That's right. Yeah, that's a part of Groundwork Academy, technically. But yeah, trigger tracking journal.
Like optional, but
yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, a workbook to help. It basically takes the work that we do in session and gives you a tangible thing to work through the process when you're triggered on your own.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is all on, what's my Instagram handle? I don't even know. Madison.Shea_coaching. I'll
put it in the description.
Yeah. Madison Shea Coaching. I don't know where the dots and the dashes are, but the trigger tracking journal is in the bio. You can book a free consultation for one-on-ones and to get more info on Groundwork Academy in my bio. Yeah, all in there.
I do eventually want to move on, but I just, as someone that has experience like working with you for the first time, like I was really nervous, but I remember our first session, I think I cried in the first 1 second. I think I was crying before I even like joined the Zoom.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was finally like able to breathe and I had a safe space. Yeah. And obviously we've built trust and rapport since then, but you just cultivated like such a calm, peaceful, trusting space for me.
I'm so glad.
So yeah. Okay.
I love hearing your experience. It's so fun.
I know I could talk about it all day. Might get weird.
I honestly wish we recorded your sessions. I wish there were like, I'm sure that you'd find snippets. Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe you're not.
You could find snippets.
I feel like you're vulnerable here on this podcast. Like you share. I mean, I know that's different. It's different, but I feel like you might.
I'd have to shower for them.
Me too.
Sometimes put on a bra, sometimes I don't. Whoops. That is like one thing I did want to say too. If I ask you a question and you feel like, I know like you were very open about like your experiences and kind of related it back to you, but if we do need to pull from any of my experiences, first of all, I have full editing control, so if I hate it, I can just take it out, but I'm open to that.
Okay.
So just as an FYI.
Love it.
You talked about the change triangle in depth on the last episode. Mm-hmm. I don't think we talked about the window of tolerance.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you want to up top explain what that is, because I feel like that comes up a lot.
Yeah. Did we mention it at all in the last?
I was trying to listen for it, and I don't know if I just simply missed it, but that means like it was maybe quick.
Okay. We all have a window of what we can tolerate emotionally. Each emotion is different and each situation is different. So it's basically our capacity to feel an emotion without being dysregulated. So I wish we had a visual.
I know.
Can we link it?
There it is.
So I guess some
it.
people will watch this and some people will just listen, right? So I can't really use my hands, but
that's true.
Whatever. Let's just say my capacity is like the size of a dime for anger. If I experience a lot of trauma in life and I have parents that aren't validating and teaching me how to regulate my anger, maybe when I'm angry, they shame me or I'm only shown really unhealthy anger, whatever, I would grow up with the dime size capacity for anger, meaning that when I feel like I don't like something, because that's all anger is just an energy of I don't like something and it's your body trying to protect you from the thing that you don't like. I could tolerate it for maybe 5 seconds and then I'll lash out at somebody. Mm-hmm. I'll project onto somebody or I will lash out on myself in the form of shame or judgment.
And what would that look like?
It could be anything from I'm so stupid to self-harm to suicidality. Mm-hmm. It's a wide range.
Right.
Depending on how big the trigger is. We can build our window of tolerance. Safe caregivers and being taught is the best way to build your window of tolerance. In an ideal world, we would have endless capacity for our own emotions if we're raised in a really healthy environment. But even if you're not raised in a healthy environment, you can build your window of tolerance through mindfulness, through, like, first of all, just becoming aware that you're triggered. So many people are literally not even aware that they're dysregulated. That's why the psychoeducation piece is so powerful, because even just understanding how the nervous system works, how dysregulation works, how emotion works can be really empowering, because otherwise this world is really abstract. The world of emotions can feel really abstract and confusing. Even just learning it builds your window of tolerance, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then, you know, tuning into your breath, coming into the present moment builds your window of tolerance. And basically everything that we're practicing in our one-on-one work is meant to build your window of tolerance. Reparenting your inner child, all the things. Right. All the things, all the techniques. When we are out of our window of tolerance, this will look like two things. Hyperarousal, which is fight or flight. This is where we get like aggressive. We are anxious. We have our OCD thoughts. We have our addictions, our impulses. This is when we feel kind of up, right? Like I'm like driving my car really fast and I'm just like frazzled, or I'm lashing out at somebody, or I, you know, doing my dishes really fast. Hyperarousal. Hypoarousal is the freeze state. This is kind of like when we play dead. This is where we're just like on the couch and we're dissociated. This is when we kind of feel like we're on autopilot in life. We've kind of numbed out from our emotions. We feel disconnected. We can also be using numbing behaviors, sleeping a lot, feeling really tired and lethargic. So those are the two options when we are out of our window of you're out of your window of tolerance when you're really up or in that kind of freeze state.
And you may have explained this and I maybe just missed it, but when you're in the window of tolerance, what do you feel?
Calm, curious, compassionate, connected, clear. I'm probably missing a C.
Okay.
But calm.
Yeah.
In the present moment, safe.
Right.
And it's really like a lot of people can't even comprehend that you could be calm, curious, compassionate, courageous, clear. I'm missing one. You could be all of those things and be angry. Like that, like people can't even fathom. They only know.
I guess I haven't thought about this.
Yeah, like people think of anger as dysregulation, and it's not.
Yeah.
Like anger is not dysregulation. You're intolerant. It's because your window of tolerance is so small for anger is why you can't tolerate anger. So people think like, oh, I'm angry. I can't, like, my heart's pounding. I can't breathe. I can't have a conversation. And actually, like, when you build your window of tolerance to anger, it's actually really grounded. It's really connective. It builds connection with yourself and with others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because, like, you always tell me in session, it's usually like when I'm feeling blocked, you're like, well, what's coming up? And it's because my window of tolerance the feeling is outside of the window of tolerance. So number one, you always tell me to go slow. But usually, like, anxiety is what comes up for me. And that's like when is it the hyper?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just coming in to protect you because your anxiety is saying, hey, in childhood and throughout life, it actually has not been safe to feel your anger.
Right.
Anger would directly threat your connection with your caregivers and with the people in your life since then. And so it's just saying, are you sure that it's safe? And then we just go really slow and retrain your brain and your body that this is, and we give it proof. We're not going to push it further than it wants to go, that it is safe. And then you build your window of tolerance and here you are.
I know. It's real. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My entire existence was anxiety and depression before.
Same, girl. Same. It's crazy how many people that is the case with.
Yeah.
You know, like the baseline of life is anxiety and depression and just dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that this work has the power to literally change all of that.
Yeah, and especially too because I feel like we just weren't allowed, like, and I mean, like, as society, like, feeling anger, feeling sadness, feeling any emotion just wasn't allowed. There was no space for it. One thing that, like, recently came up, like, in our sessions is I was, like, feeling dysregulated, feeling joy.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. So any emotion.
Yeah.
Not just the bad ones.
No, that's been my journey. Like the past, like, year and a half, 2 years, I've also been exploring what it looks like to build my window of tolerance for joy. Because, for joy and excitement. Because a lot of times, we've talked about this, but this is maybe a little tangent, but how our inner child gets so excited about things. This is really, in like anxious attachment relationships, this is a really good topic of, like, just because you feel excitement about a person doesn't mean that you just throw all of yourself into that person. There's still you can still be out of your window of tolerance because you're acting impulsively, reactively. You're not actually making decisions that are for your long-term health.
Yeah.
They're just for immediate gratification.
Right. Which I really think about this all the time now, like since kind of like learning that. Because I know like for the longest time we would talk about like eventually dating and yada yada yada, and you'd be like, just go slow. And I didn't like, like you can tell me that like so many times, but I didn't really fully understand like what that meant until I just try to go slow with everything. Like I don't want to be like in a rushed feeling state, because then that just like makes me anxious.
Yeah, honestly, isn't that like the biggest hack?
Yes.
It's so simple.
Slow down.
Like if you don't want to pay for therapy and you're like, where do I start? Literally just slow the fuck down. Slow down. Do everything at half the pace that you do it.
I was like doing my dishes as quickly as possible, like folding like every single thing, like work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, you know, like that was like my constant state. I don't know if like this is just me, but I just have never experienced like going slow in dating either.
Yeah.
And so it really makes sense how I ended up where I ended up so many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talk about anxious attachment.
Yeah. There's something about, it's like, it feels safer. It feels safer, but really it's so much less safe. So it's interesting.
I think it's like, for me specifically, the instant gratification of feeling loved.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, this is what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a drug.
Like finally. And then it's not long lasting. And then that makes me crash out.
Yeah. Literally just like drugs.
Yeah. I'm like, give it
it's
back
no
to
different.
me, please. So all of your content on Self-Seeking School is speaking to me. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
I'm like, that's my life. Previously.
That's right. Not anymore, girl.
No way.
Never again.
Literally. So one thing that you brought up to me on a session was your Rolodex theory. And it came up when I started noticing that I like to logically think about things, and I like labels. And anytime I bring up like a label, or like let's say I call someone like a narcissist, for example, you just like are very passive about it, and you have never repeated the word narcissist to me. And you weren't judging me for it. It was just like I started noticing a pattern of any time I would call someone anything, or even myself. You just passively ignore it. And I personally loved, like you explained, like this Rolodex theory, which I eventually want you to explain, but I loved that, number one, because it, like, putting a label on something kind of puts you in a box. And I think part of healing, it's so fluid, and you'll eventually explain, but you think like it's not like set in stone. No, per se. Like, let's say someone is clinically a narcissist, you don't think like they can heal from it.
Yeah, I just think, and who's making the definition?
I know. People, and that gave me a lot of freedom too.
We just made it up, Abby. It's all made up.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Bipolar is made up. Depression is made up. Anxiety is made up.
And I love having structure in my head, and
of course,
part of that makes me overthink things. And so I'm like, this is a made up word.
Well, that's the thing. I think, I'm not saying that these are inherently bad. We need language. As humans, we need language. I think what's problematic about it is because we want answers so bad, we look to these medical professionals, in quotes, because they're just people who are trying to figure out life. Just because they say that we have this thing, it's just language. It's organizing. That's all it is. Right. Is we've just lumped some symptoms together and said, oh, let's just call it this just for organization's sake. But it's not a thing. It's not real.
Yeah. So can you explain, first of all, for anyone that doesn't know what a Rolodex is, for any younger listeners, it's, maybe you can explain it better than me.
Like, that is funny. It is a device. It's a contraption that has our cards of paper. Like what are these called?
Index cards.
Index cards.
Yep.
Index cards that people would put phone numbers and addresses on. And they'd be in like alphabetical order. And then you would kind of spin the sides to spin to the correct letter.
It's like go to M for McCarville.
Yeah. And anyways, you can spin all the way to the front to go to A, or all the way to the back to go to Z.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Rolodex thing, it's interesting that you bring it up, because when I think about it, for me, it's a very spiritual thing. Did we get into spiritual stuff in the last podcast at all?
No, I don't think so, but I feel like it might come up.
Ooh, yeah. So for me, it was actually like a very spiritual thing. I was like, I think in a shroom journey when it was given to me. I can't totally remember. I was in some sort of spiritual trance.
Yeah.
And
you told me it was a download, and I was like, I love this.
Yes. Yeah. It was just plopped into my brain when I was trying to figure something out. And anyways, it was shown to me that the very front card is like black. It's like the darkest, most dense. And that represents like our just raw ego. And ego's not a bad word. I think that's important to talk about, because some people are like, oh, that's bad. No, it's just literally us in our most dense human level of surviving in this dimension. And then the very, very, very back would be the purest, like translucent or pure light, whatever you want to say, whatever. And we all kind of have different places in this Rolodex of where we are at any given time. And when you have a really healthy, grounded, supportive childhood, it's kind of like, think of like each formative moment, it's just going tick back closer to the white. And people might stay, people who have a really healthy upbringing and supportive, support system might kind of stay somewhere in the middle or somewhere close to the back, because that's where feels safe for them. Whereas people who experience a lot of trauma, people that you would call a narcissist, or that the world would call a narcissist, pretty dense people, right? They just kind of function closer to the front, because if you're a narcissist, the chances of you having a really not great childhood with supportive family members, or so you don't have those formative experiences. So you maybe click 2 or 3 times in your childhood, and you're pretty much in survival constantly. So you're close to this front thing. And as we go through therapy, as we go through healing journeys, as we have safe people in our lives, and we build trust through all the things that we do, and we can start providing for ourselves, and whatever, all these healthy things that we do. It's like clicking back. However, the last layer of this is basically what was shown to me is every time we're triggered, it's like, depending on how big the trigger is, depending on how core of a wound it's hitting on, it might immediately, you might be all light and love over here, and then somebody, you feel like you're getting abandoned or rejected, and it's like, back to the front card.
The black.
Through our breath, through coming to the present moment, through reparenting our inner child, through regulating our nervous system. You don't need to stay there. You've experienced this. I've experienced it a million times. Even just a breath can get you back to the center or closer to the end of the Rolodex. Did I explain that well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I love, like, that was just like so enlightening to me. I don't know. I was like, I have to ask you about this.
Well, I also want to say too that I believe who we actually are, because I believe in souls. I believe that we all are that white light.
Yeah.
Like we all are light.
We all have the capability to be that.
And I think that's what we actually are. I think that's the truth of who we are. And I think that is really good, because people are like, oh, I want to become that. And the truth is, you want to return to that.
Yeah.
That's my belief is that's who we actually are. And all this healing work that we're doing is just removing the illusions that keep you from the truth of who you are.
Yep. Okay.
And we get those illusions through our programming. And this is getting can get spiritual really quickly, but it's like, that's kind of, in my opinion, what this whole journey is.
Yeah.
Is like we incarnate, we have a veil that comes over, which is this black card that we're kind of consenting to forget our divinity.
Yeah.
And our life's journey is this remembrance, this like remembering and decluttering and unpacking and to who we actually are.
Yeah. Like, I think we kind of like pick like the black card, whatever our black card is, we pick that. Like, we pick our parents, all the things that will happen to us.
Yeah.
And then it's just like for our soul, like kind of like the undoing then. So our soul can learn the undoing to get closer and back to it. And that's like human experience.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. I love that.
But it's fun to talk about this with you because I keep it pretty compartmentalized for obvious reasons in like the therapeutic environment. But it's always fun when you bring this stuff up because I'm like,
you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I feel like there's more to you than even I knew from like just the last podcasts.
Yeah.
And I call it like the woo-woo stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I go deep, girl.
Yeah. You are way more in it than me. And I'm like, I feel like I have so much I could learn.
I don't know. I mean, we haven't really... we could probably do a whole 5 episodes just on the spiritual stuff.
Yeah. But I do think like I'm always like evolving.
Yeah.
You know, because before I just like thought like we just died and that was it. Like I didn't really think about anything else. So I feel like the more I learn, the more I'm like, oh, I think I believe in this now.
Well, this is fun to talk about. I don't talk about it often, but I do talk about it when this happens to clients. When people do this work, it's pretty inevitable that it becomes really spiritual. And it's just like secures my faith in this stuff so much more because I see this pattern. When people can get comfortable feeling their emotions and move some of the blocks, it gets really spiritual for them. Yeah. Without us even trying to. Yeah. Like they're just like, oh, without all the story, I'm really just, I love everyone. And like people get to this oneness. People get to this like when I don't have the story of my trauma and I don't have the story of all these things that I thought that I was and oh my gosh, I'm not this, I'm not this. People get to this state of everything is kind of one. And love is all that really exists. And these kind of truths that you see across the spiritual world.
Yeah. I would say, like, for me, the last time you talked about, like, how, like, you deconstructed Christianity, and technically I was raised Catholic. I'm going to use, like, air quotes because that's not really, it wasn't really, you know, a thing. Like, my parents still are somewhat religious, but like they're not going to church, they're not reading the Bible, they're not talking to me about God. But I do kind of feel like the way people like talk about God, I do feel like I have like kind of found that within myself, and I don't mean that in like a narcissist way. Like I'm Jesus or God. But I just feel like there's so much like power within myself to like feel all these emotions, and like I can literally like feel it in my arms, and like when I'm expressing it, you know, in a safe way, and then I can feel so much love within myself, and then like me giving myself so much love, and then like intuition and getting into manifesting and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. I think this is who we actually are.
Yeah, like we are like God, whatever God is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Individually. Yes. I know. I think you think like we're all connected or something. Right?
Yes. Yes. It's like,
I do know that.
I feel like I could just like go on a whole tangent. So if you want to go down this road, I mean,
One of my questions was going to be, you said that you deconstructed Christianity. And so I was going to ask you like where you're at with like, religion in general. Yeah. I don't know how deep we want to get, but.
I think that Christianity teaches that Jesus was this other being, God, and we are not, and that we need Jesus to be saved, and you know. But I believe that Jesus was coming to show us our divinity. Jesus was saying, "Look, we're the same. Let me show you what you're actually capable of. I've just moved the illusions out of the way. Like I actually know that I'm one with God. I actually know my divinity. I actually understand what I truly am. And that's what I'm showing the world. Like that's what Jesus is saying, right? And I mean, he says it himself. I mean, I couldn't quote it now because it's been so long since I've been in that world, but just like anything that I'm doing, you can do.
Yeah, and I'm no help.
Yeah. I have a minor in biblical studies, but it didn't really stick because whatever. But I believe that he's teaching, like, this is what you actually are. This is what you are capable of. And that's, I mean, if you want to get into what I believe, that's what I believe, is that we are all divine.
Do you think, like, maybe he was just, like, the first person to do the work and just, like, showing others, like, just some regular, like, person?
I mean,
Does that make sense,
this gets deep quick, but I don't think he was a regular person. I think... I'm thinking about, like, the average listener, like, listening to this and being like, who the fuck is this woman? Like, no, I'm not going to trust her.
I can cut this out of you.
No, I don't care at all. I mean, I think it's important stuff. But I think that there's different levels of evolution of a soul, and I think that he was pretty evolved and intentionally came here to help humanity.
Okay.
I don't think that makes him it's not a better or worse thing. It's not a hierarchical thing, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. What do I know? I'm just guessing, right? But I think that we're all one. I think that we're all equal, but I think that we are all in different places in our path. Yeah. And let's just say, like, I am in second grade in my journey, and let's just say he's in his PhD, and he's like, let me come to Earth and drop some knowledge to help the evolution of this planet.
I like that.
Is my perspective.
Yeah. I still don't really know as far as, like, what my beliefs are around that specifically, but I'm God.
Yeah, there you go, girl.
So kind of going back to, like, the Rolodex, and just, I gave the example of narcissism. I did just, like, also want to say that you embody it so much, but through just, like, the work of what I've done with myself, you have allowed me to have so much more compassion for people who I may have called a narcissist in the past, or people who I've, like, been really upset with, or think, like, they're like the black card. And I mean, like, it's happened for various reasons in different ways, but I just, like, think that's so beautiful, because and this may just be, like, my perception of others, but I've had a couple people say to me that, like, maybe, like, our parents or, like, family members or friends might feel somewhat uncomfortable with us seeking therapy because they know that they could potentially come up in a negative way. And so I guess, like, one thought that I just was thinking about is, like, I think it's actually really beautiful, because it's not like we're in a session talking mad shit about anyone.
Never.
It's all about my experience, number one.
Yeah.
And you give everyone compassion.
Yeah, because everyone is a projection. I mean, any judgment that you or I would have in a session would be a complete projection. It's a complete waste of time, other than to point us back to ourselves. So, yeah, I think, I mean, again, the deeper you get into this work, you realize that literally any judgment you have towards anyone is just a part of yourself that you're rejecting. Yeah. And that's why it's like, I've done work. I mean, whenever you're seeing me have compassion on something, it's like, okay, I love the part of me that's narcissistic. I love the part of me that's lazy. I love the part of me that's mean. I mean, like, only when you can really meet those parts of yourselves do you not have to judge it in somebody else anymore.
Yeah. And kind of speaking of that, you recommended Complex CPTSD, the book, Surviving to Thriving, or something along those sorts. I can always reference it. Yeah. And that book too, because in our sessions, like, we're really focusing on me. We're not as, like, going through, like, the list of, like, what other, like, someone else may have experienced. Like, it may come up and you might, like, kind of give me, like, a quick, like logical understanding of something. But this book, like, really explained, like, the 4 types of CPTSD, or, like, the 4 outcomes. And that really gave me so much empathy and compassion. And then I told you that made me angry.
Which makes sense. That's where you're at.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly where you should be.
Right. And then you also explained to me that just because we can have an understanding of how someone became that way, that you can also watch like a serial killer documentary and understand that why they may have been that way, but they're also not safe. And that then also helped me.
Yeah, it's like this perfect balance of we can understand and we don't need to judge it. That I think that's where we find peace, is we're not judging it anymore. We understand how and why someone could get there, and we see how we ourselves, given the same circumstances, could get there.
Yeah.
I, in a different scenario, could be a serial killer.
Yep.
And I'm just very thankful that I had the parents and the situations and the life experiences where that's not the path that I took.
Yep.
But I can look at that neutrally and be like, that sucks, and I don't want that.
Right.
But I don't need to judge that person.
Yep.
And I don't want to be around them.
It also kind of like helped me feel like it was less personal, you know? It's like, ugh, that's just because of their parents, you know? They're shitty because of that, you know? It's like, they didn't like intentionally like target me, or at least that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah, I mean, a phrase that has been very helpful for me through my life is no action is irrational. And I mean, I don't think anyone does anything, even like something that seems so outlandish. There's a reason in their psyche at that point in time that believes that it's going to lead to their survival in some way. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. They believe that it's going to give them something, help them in some way. They're in a state of panic, you know?
Yeah. And that's sometimes like I have to remind myself it's not automatic. So far, like I have to remind myself of that. I'm like, okay, like this is just them like reacting or this and that, you know. And
that's why we're never going to talk shit about anybody, because I mean, in the same way that we're going to unconditionally see you, that's anyone who's in the session. Think about it. Like when we start realizing that we deserve unconditional love and acceptance in our shame and our most shameful secrets, darkest places and our deepest shadows, we realize, oh shit, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
We're not giving them a pass. We're not saying you have access to me or anything. We're not saying, you know, but it's just, if anyone else was in this session, I'd be doing the same thing for them. So why would we talk shit about them? Yeah. And we're going to give them the same.
Yeah. I do think the difference is, though, it's like people who are in session with you or others, like other therapists or, you know, modalities, like they're trying to be better. So like we do have a responsibility.
Yes.
And not everyone.
And not everybody has the capacity to do that.
And that's true.
Or
the resources.
Yeah. You've gotten to a place where you've seen that it is for your survival. You will survive better. You will thrive by taking this path. And that's not where everybody's at.
Right.
And to get a little spiritual.
It took me a long time.
Yeah. And to get spiritual again, I think it is, from a human perspective, it's easy to have a hierarchy of like, this person's really so much better because they go to therapy. And it's like, I believe we've been all of that. We've been the person in therapy. We've been the person who's not in therapy. We're all at different points in our evolution.
Lifetime.
And we're all supposed to learn different things in this life. And so the alcoholic, abusive person who, whatever, we're not giving them a pass. We're not saying you can be in my life, but we don't need to judge them because that's where they are in their evolutionary path. And they're learning what they need to learn in this lifetime. And they are a gift for us because they're teaching us how to embody something in this lifetime that we wanted to learn.
Yeah. That's a great point, because I think I find myself saying like how amazing it is to people that may not have gone to therapy yet. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's all I talk about half the time. People are like, oh, you're going to be upset with me, but I decided I'm not ready to go to therapy yet. And I'm like, I hate that was like what they thought. I'm like, I'm like, no, it's your journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to be afraid to tell me that. Yeah. But I'm like, I understand why because of what I've been saying.
For sure.
So, yeah. I'm like, you do you, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also really easy to get into a place of like trying to convince people to go. I mean, yeah, it's changed our lives. Anything that changes your life, you want to share with people.
And I'm like still in the thick of it. And so it's like, I become like very obsessive with things, and I'm like, okay, so I'm like in the learning, and I'm like listening to the book, and like the book has become my entire personality, and that's all I keep talking about. So it's like, It's just like my obsession.
Yeah.
At the moment.
It just like, it makes you see life more clearly. It makes you realize it's like putting on glasses when you didn't know you had a vision impairment.
Yes.
It's like, how could you not tell the people you love?
Right.
Like, no, there's like a lot of things in life that you're not seeing clearly.
Yeah. Like, you're going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to get into the law of detachment and manifesting. I know I sent you, I think, a voice memo months ago at this point, and I was like, maybe we just save this for the podcast, because for me, I am still really struggling to understand, because I think what you had said is they work together. If we're constantly thinking about our future life and looking for expanders and all this stuff, but then also we're like, it's not ours, like we're detaching from it. How does that work?
So detachment just means that our happiness is not dependent on the thing. Our happiness, our worth is not dependent on the thing. So do I believe I will only be happy if I'm a millionaire? Then then getting the $1 million would actually be the universe doing me a disservice. So we go, God, universe, why haven't I gotten my $1 million yet? But if the $1 million is going to me bypass loving myself and being happy, which is being happy in any and all circumstances, realizing that our joy is not linked to any one person or anything.
Right.
And so if I don't love myself, and I believe that I need a person, I need a husband to fill this void for me, it would be the most unloving thing the universe could ever do for me in my evolution. It would be very good for my black card ego, right? Because then I don't have to do any work, but that's not why we came here. We came here to evolve. And so the universe is here supporting us in our evolution. And so if I actually want to manifest a relationship that actually feels good, it's one that I'm not filling a void with. And you don't have to look very hard to see this, that the majority of people, they have really, really good relationships for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And then they're fucking miserable.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a black card relationship. It's, filling a void rather than.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we can talk about manifesting here in a second, but like just trying to like think about how like you would go about, like, let's say I came to you and was with like let's keep going with this example of a relationship.
Yeah.
Let's say I like someone and I am feeling like that, and like I can feel it in my body. I already know what it is. Like it's like kind of like anxiety of when you're thinking about them, like, I want them to like me,
Yeah.
So it's a need, not like a.
Yeah, that's it. You're describing anxiety.
How would you go about releasing that?
Well, we would go towards it, never away, right? So first and foremost, anxiety means you're out of your window of tolerance.
Right.
So your nervous system doesn't feel safe. So number one, we just want to create safety in the body. You can do that through breathing. You can do that through your senses, coming to the present moment, feeling the couch. You can do that through self-talk. That's my kind of go-to. Is like I'm just breathing. My hands are on my body. I'm becoming very aware of my hands on my body and my breath. And I'm instantly talking kindly to myself, like, you're safe. I've got you. Right? So number one is creating safety in the body. And then we want to get to what is the belief? What's the painful belief? What's the story that's running? Because this is an old story. If there's anxiety, this is an old story. It's not the truth. There's a dense card in the Rolodex coming up. And it's bringing you back to a younger version of you that learned something unhelpful.
Yeah. I'm like trying to think about what it is in real time without doing it.
Well, it sounds like there's a belief that you're incomplete without
being loved or something.
Normal, valid, but there's still some enslavement there to believing that anything outside of yourself. And I think this can be a very frustrating, I know for me, I'll speak for myself. That was a very frustrating belief because it's like, of course I need love. Like, of course I need money. Of course, like, it's not to say that these aren't, we're not invalidating that these are basic human things, that we need shelter and we need love and we need community. It's not saying that we don't need these things. It's just when our identity is wrapped up in them is where it becomes problematic.
Yeah. Detaching from that.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So that is law of detachment. So then how does it work with manifesting? Or what do you consider manifesting?
Manifesting is getting in the frequency of the thing that you desire. Remember, I believe that we are all the white card. And that is, we are creators. We can have anything that we want, anything that we desire. And the process of manifesting is actually just moving aside the illusions that keep us from thinking that we can have the thing. So if I have a childhood wound that says I'm unlovable and I'm trying to manifest the love of my life, this belief is going to make me self-sabotage. It's going to make me not act in accordance. I'm not going to be at the frequency of the thing that I want. And as I unlearn these silly programs, these illusions, and get back to the core of who I am, I move closer to the things that I want.
So is it simply just like detaching from it, doing the work, healing the wound, but then like what I always thought manifesting was just like writing in a notebook over and over, like I'm a millionaire, or like saying it out loud, speaking it into existence, like maybe even like picturing myself being a millionaire?
I think it's all of the above. I think those are all pieces to a puzzle of manifesting, because it's just about becoming. Manifesting is all about becoming. I think people think it's like this. It's like this abstract woo-woo thing, but all of those practices that you just said help you become. And if we think about neuroplasticity, if every single day I'm saying, I'm an annoying piece of shit who's never going to get what I want. I hate even saying those words. I'm like, blah. I do not claim this for myself. But it's like, you will start to believe that.
Yeah.
Right? This is what our childhood wounding is you experience the same thing over and over again, and you actually start believing that thing. The same is true in the opposite. So yes, there is something to, if I write something down, that means where our intention goes, energy flows. If I'm intending every day to do something, I'm gonna live differently.
Yeah.
If every day I say I am so healthy and wealthy, do you think I will make different healthy decisions? Will I say I am healthy and wealthy and then go get a bunch of credit card debt and binge eat Doritos every night? Probably not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start acting in accordance with the things that I'm speaking out.
Okay.
So it's really like neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do believe there's an energetic, this is where it would be kind of controversial, but I do believe there's an energetic frequency to everything, right? I mean, I don't think this is I think this is science. Just right.
I agree.
But some people would say not that, but that our words have energy. There's energetics to them, and there's density to saying I'm ugly. And there's a higher frequency to saying I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think the energetics of things really matters as well.
I used to, like prior to like working with you, I've gone in like different like stages and phases of like what I believe in and my woo-woo-ness, it just every year gets cranked up another notch. And I would like try so hard to manifest and like really try to believe it. Really, like none of my manifestations like were even happening. And I feel like it would be interesting to I need to start writing things down because I have such a bad memory. But
I think that's a lot of people's experience, by the way, because they don't understand what manifestation is. It's this thing other.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing with religion, and why people go to church and they really think it's going to help them, and then it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's putting the power outside of you.
Right.
When real manifestation is putting the power inside of you. I have the power to create my dream life.
True. And I thought it was like the universe was doing it for me versus like me making it
You
happen.
are the universe.
Right. But the way I used to, I agree with that sentiment now. But before, I definitely thought it was like a separate entity.
Yeah.
But I used to say all the time where I was like, I think my anxiety is sabotaging my manifestations. I don't know where, like maybe subconsciously or energetically, like didn't realize like what that even meant. I was like, this is just because I was like, I'm so anxious about all of this shit. And like none of this is happening. And it makes so much more sense now. I'm like, oh, of course it wasn't. Because I have anxiety around money. I have anxiety around work. I have anxiety around this and anxiety around that. And so there's just been like these blocks of everything that we've worked through.
Yeah. It creates space, right? We're creating space for all of this to come in.
Yeah.
Right now you have this armor. And then we're like, hey, can I have blank? And then it's hitting armor.
Yeah. And I really actually, I think deep down I didn't believe I deserved.
Exactly. That's your armor. Mm-hmm.
And two, like our brains, first of all, don't even get me started. It's so crazy, like some of the stuff I've learned or think about and like subconsciously that you discover about yourself just from like doing the work that we've done together. That aside, my brain, I didn't realize. Like, so what I was explaining at the top of the episode is it was like always like, like it didn't stop. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how many negative thoughts I was actually thinking about myself. I still am working on that. Mm-hmm. And it's layers, you know, I peel back some layers. I'm like, oh, like, why do I think about that? Like about myself. And I've been really trying to like stop it and interrupt it and do like the shut up thing. Like, oh, shut up. Like, don't say that. Mm-hmm. But it just makes so much sense that if that's what I energetically believe, like on a soul level about, maybe not soul,
I was about to say, on just an inner child
subconscious level,
yeah,
that it makes sense, you know? And so I've really, really, really been trying to just like smother myself with love.
Well, I think you're bringing up something that's important that a lot of people don't realize, don't believe. Because who am I to say what's fact? We can just talk about our experience.
Yeah.
Which is we are not our thoughts. And a lot of people believe their thoughts are them.
Yeah.
Like if you were to like pull people and say like, okay, the thoughts in your head, is that you? A lot of people would say yes. And I think that is very problematic. It's when you can start seeing that your mind is not who you are. Your mind is this computer running a program. It's just like it's just firing things to keep. It's just a part of the computer.
Right.
The computer, the system that we are. But there is
us like upright and living.
But, there's like, but the soul inhabits this body and the mind is the thing that kind of helps us function in the world. But the mind is just shooting off random things for your survival.
Yeah.
It's just trying to make sense. It's trying to make sense of everything. It's a computer.
Right.
And when you can differentiate yourself from that computer programming and realizing that there is a self outside of that, fucking game changer.
And I, again, referencing how like until you do it, it's so hard. And it is hard because, you know, not everyone experienced what I experienced in life. So maybe not everyone's brain was working the exact same way my brain was working, but I heard that all the time. Like, you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are not facts. La, 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 la. And I was like, you are crazy. There's no way. This is me. It's my personality. This kookiness. And I don't think you could have ever changed my mind on that. I could have probably just been like, yeah, okay, I get it. But I don't think you could have ever changed my mind on that until it really did stop being true.
Yeah, and you're right. You have to have something to replace it with. That's a valid point.
Yeah.
Like if you just say that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right.
You had something to replace it with, which is the truth in your body.
Right.
And when you experience how to feel your feelings and then you get that clarity and that sense of soul outside of it, you have to kind of feel that to be like, oh, wow, that was this torturous prison hell.
Yeah.
You know,
even worse than that.
Yeah.
And that's and I had never, because I'd never been taught to like, well, where are you feeling that in your body? What? No,
Yeah.
I'm thinking it. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I like, seriously, again, most of the population doesn't even understand what it means to feel anything. Like, it's just language.
I said so many times on that episode, I'm like, but Madison, I cry all the time.
Yeah.
And I still, like, I know crying is expressing, but
it doesn't mean you're feeling.
No,
it doesn't mean you're feeling. There's a release of some sort, but it doesn't mean you're feeling. In the same way that I could be punching a wall, like people with the worst repressed anger are the ones beating people up and killing people.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Right? Like, they're not. I
guess I've never thought of it that way. They
actually don't know how to feel their anger, so they're lashing out, which is a behavior that is out of your window of tolerance. They are the worst people at feeling anger.
Now that we're here, can we just talk about anger?
Ooh, of course.
Our favorite subject.
Our favorite. The thing that will free you all.
Truly.
And the thing that most people are the most scared of. Yeah, let's go. Let's go, girl. I'm ready.
It was terrifying for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I can cry all the time. You know, like I opened our first session just bawling my eyes out. I wasn't afraid of that.
Well, because you're not a bad person if you cry.
Yes.
But we have the label of, if you're angry, you're a bad person because, and fair enough, because what we have called anger as a collective, we would call your dad punching a hole in the wall.
Right.
Anger, instead of, oh, he's not tolerating his anger.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't have the language for that. All these behaviors we call anger, when anger is just an energetic in the body.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you explain like what anger is and what anger isn't?
Yes. So emotion is energy in motion. We hear this all the time, and it's, again, hard until you experience it, so I understand. But emotion is just an energy that moves through your body. You would feel anger as a wave of energy in your body. It might feel like a burning in your chest, or when it's really repressed, we feel it as tightness in the jaw or tightness in the shoulders, right? But anyways, it's an energy that's moving through your body. And it's neutral. It's not bad. It is not good. It is not right. It is not wrong. When we don't know how to tolerate the energy, when it doesn't feel safe, because the energy is just supposed to show us something. So anger shows us what we don't like. Desire shows us what we like, etc. And then when we live in an environment where this is naturally met and safe, it's good. When it's not, it's repressed. When that happens, we have to have behaviors. And what society calls anger is really the behavioral reaction to not tolerating the energy. So if you call me ugly, and if I can sit here with it, I can breathe and be like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that she called me ugly. And I can feel into my body and be like, yeah, I didn't like that. And then anger will help me do something. I'll be able to say, Abby, that hurt my feelings. I didn't like that you called me ugly. And if you go, I don't give a fuck, then my body's going to tell me something else. It's going to go, oh, I really didn't like this. She's not hearing me. And then I will get up and I will leave your house.
Yeah.
Note, like, the anger's telling me something.
Yeah.
So that I can communicate and get closer. If it's not safe, it's going to tell me something else. And then I'm going to go take care of myself.
And you're in your window of tolerance still.
Yeah.
Because you're able to feel it and it's okay
Yeah.
to feel it.
Yeah.
So you're still the C's. Cool, calm,
Yeah,
collected.
exactly. But imagine, good, I'm glad you shift us, because now imagine that I'm out of my window of tolerance and you say, Madison, you're ugly. I'll go, what did you say? I'm dysregulated. I'm out of my window of tolerance.
Yeah.
I'm already
What I notice a lot is
lashing
people
out.
then, if they don't like what you say, then they say something even worse back to you.
Yeah.
Well, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's really, our inner child feels out of control.
Yeah.
It's really innocent. This is why it's like, you can't, it's like, we're all just sweetie pies, scared little sweetie pies. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We're just fucking scared. And yeah. The most mean people are the scaredest people ever.
Yeah,
So yeah. So if I'm out of my window of tolerance, I'm going to either suppress. This is all on the Ultimate Guide to Anger, by the way. You can go get for free on Self-Seeking's Instagram. We either lash out in the form of projection, like I can be like, yeah, well, you're ugly, or, well, what about you? You think you're so much better than me. We have every flavor of this under the sun.
Yeah.
I could get up and punch you in the face. I could be I could be really sarcastic and passive.
You could kill me.
I could kill you. All of these are the lashing out end of the spectrum. Or I could suppress.
Ooh, wait. Being very passive. That's a good one. I don't think a lot of people think about that.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we think the extremes, the punching, the screaming, the fighting, the yelling.
So there's passive aggressive, which would go in kind of the middle of the pendulum swing of the lashing out, right? Where I'm just like, what's a passive aggressive thing I can say? Like,
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not addressing it, but I'm still.
Would it even be like maybe an acknowledgement of like, oh yeah, like I didn't like my hair today?
Yeah, sure.
Is that
That would go more on the end of the suppression side.
okay?
I wish we had a visual. But yeah, so that would be more of suppression because you're turning the anger inward.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of people, either we lash it out, we project our anger onto somebody else when we can't tolerate it, or we put it inward. And so agreeing with them and being like, yeah, I didn't take a shower today, that would fall under the side of suppression. I'm starting to turn that anger inward towards myself. And so at any given moment, we're not tolerating it. I'm lashing out. I'm suppressing it. I'm pretending. I'm either in denial. I'm pretending that you didn't hurt my feelings. I'm internally, mentally standing up for you instead of listening to the anger.
Yeah.
I'm going, oh, she didn't mean it,
Yeah.
which, hey, is actually really cool. You probably didn't, and it's actually better to not take it personally. And I didn't like it. And until I can validate in myself that I didn't like it, I am going to have no sense of self. Like, this is where people who are like, I don't know who I am. Like, I'm so envious of people who know who they are. You are suppressing your anger. Mm-hmm. That is a major reason you don't know who you are.
Yep.
Because you have, that's how it has
like,
felt.
you're bulldozing yourself completely.
Yeah. And you probably don't even realize that you're doing it.
Nope. Speaking from experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That also can go, like, ties us back to potentially, like, not always, but sometimes, like, anxious attachment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would not like something, and then if I was trying to stay in attachment with a person, their needs were more important than my dislike and my anger, so I just pushed it down.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, if they were yelling and their anger got the best of them, I would yell as well. Not healthy either way. Both are not okay.
A lot of times anxious attachment people will be like, always give the person the benefit of the doubt, because that's really what we want, right? We're giving what we really want. And
I thought I was just, like, being, like, so empathetic.
Yeah. And the thing is, you are. Yes. You are being empathetic, but you're abandoning yourself.
Yes.
And that's not love. So it's the combination of staying with yourself and somebody else that is a healthy connection. And so if you can't do both, you're in a trauma bond. You're not actually loving that person to abandon yourself.
Right. You would I'm, like, trying to, like, think of, like, an example without being too specific. You started, I'm, like, trying to think of how you phrased it. It was, I started expressing how, like, a dislike for something, and you started explaining how I was abandoning my own needs. And can you kind of explain to me how, which I don't know if you remember, like, what specifically this is, but you would say how I need to, if I don't like that in my body, that's telling me something, and that's okay. And whatever comes up for the other person when I express my need, like, that's on, do you know what I'm saying here?
I don't know the example, so maybe I'm a little in the dark, but I can talk to that concept.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're just speaking to, a lot of times people will go, okay, but if I feel my anger, then they will be uncomfortable, or they won't be able to handle it. And okay, so you are trying to deny the reality that this person does not have the capacity for your full expression.
Yep.
And so, yes, that is true. And that's the thing you're running from. Reality, if you can, your emotions want to bring you closer to reality. That doesn't mean that that's kind of a convoluted thing that we could get into, but your anger is trying to show you something. I don't like this. This isn't working for me. And the reality is, I don't feel safe in a relationship where I can't share that I want something to be different.
Yep.
And if I say, hey, so-and-so, I really want this to be different, and they get defensive, this might not be a safe environment for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to face that reality.
Yeah, I was so scared of losing them.
Yeah, and that's what's happening, is we don't want to face the reality that this person doesn't have the capacity for us. So then we minimize ourselves, suppress our anger. Oh, it's okay. They're not meaning to. And then 5 months later, we're chronically depressed, anxious, suicidal, and deeply codependent and miserable.
Yeah. I just, like, also want to say, just thinking back to, like, that time, like, I do remember the, like, specific example. I just didn't, I don't know why. I think I talked about it the last episode. I don't know why I don't want to say it, but I was, like, not telling you so many things. And that was, like, such a red flag for me.
Yeah. But also, right. Like, it makes sense. It's scary. You weren't ready to face that reality. Like, you weren't, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another thing, is, like, it's actually really neutral. You could still be in that relationship and it would be okay. It doesn't mean anything about you.
Right.
Now, you'd be really unhappy. You'd be really depressed. I imagine you'd be suicidal.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times neutralizing our decisions can be really useful. Like, it doesn't make you a good person or a bad person, right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just
that's really helped me.
Yeah. Like, what's the experience you want to have?
Right.
And do you want to be in a relationship where you feel safe? Okay, that's going to require you to leave this person who's not helping you, like who's not adding to that. But for anyone listening who is in a dynamic that they deep down know is toxic, doesn't mean anything about you, other than that you're afraid. You have things in your life that you're afraid to confront, and you are not a bad person or a wrong person to stay in that dynamic till the day that you die.
Yeah.
It's really just a decision.
Yeah. And one thing that you say to me all the time is, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense why you ended up like in that situation.
You would never choose that.
Why you had that reaction, or it makes sense like this, it can go on and on and on and on.
Yeah. If you felt safe enough, like if you had 100% safety in your body.
Right.
Is anyone going to choose an abusive partner?
No.
Hell no. There's a reason. It's called neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
It's called a dysregulated nervous system. That is what feels safe in some weird way. That is what feels safest in that moment, or else no one would do that.
Yeah. I know this is like totally off topic, and there's so many topics that I do want to get to, but I did just like want to say, I don't know if I'll keep this in or not. I think it's so funny because I started seeing you because I was so scared of losing said person. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, like, they let me believe that I was the problem too. Mm-hmm. So we were both in agreement. I need to go seek help, and then we will be perfect. Mm-hmm. And the more that I started like gaining tools through like working with you, the more things became very apparent that wasn't, no one's perfect. I'm not saying that he was the problem versus me, but things got way worse. Mm-hmm. Because I think I became more triggering.
Yeah, well, I love that you're bringing this up. I know you're going to agree with this. I'm just going to kind of like share it in a different perspective. Mm-hmm. When there's a toxic dynamic, it is so easy for the narcissist or the abusive, to be like, oh, they're so fucked up. We're equally as fucked up.
Yeah, and I realize that now.
We are equally as fucked up because we're a perfect energetic match.
100%.
We are a perfect energetic match for that thing. Oof. And that can be super I mean, like, if you're not ready to hear this, I would just say don't listen to it, because I understand. Yeah. I understand not being ready to hear this or being very triggered by this concept. But as somebody who's been in abusive relationships, I can say that when knowing what I know about my self-worth and what I tolerated and how I contributed to that, woof.
I know.
It's a match made in heaven. If I was at a different place in my journey, if I was at a different energetic place, different place in my beliefs about myself, I would have never tolerated it.
I know. Yeah, and like talk about like going slow. That would have never been accepted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like
he would have left right away.
Good, right. It's like we don't realize that it's like we're literally, it's so convoluted. It's like we're creating the hell that.
Yeah. It's so, like, not to go too much on a tangent about this, but I really thought like the stars were aligning, and like when I met him, and it's so funny because like I know things now that that wasn't true at all, but in my reality that's what was happening. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards I was like, oh no, like the stars did align perfectly.
I was just gonna say
our two shadow parts to find each other and stay with each other, and then just like become. I don't want to talk about this episode. I did talk about it last episode of like my definition of love, but I was like, I don't think that's what that was. It's like, it wasn't on his part. It wasn't on my part. Mm-hmm. We still probably on like a weird level think that, because otherwise what was the point? Mm-hmm. But the other thing I did want to just like quickly say too, we talk about like our highest self in our sessions, and that's part of like your coursework. Like you kind of like just like you do like a meditation with it, and that's kind of how you can envision it in your head if you don't already know what that means. But a lot of times like what I talk about is there was like one piece of me that wanted to stay away, like when I finally decided to leave. Mm-hmm. And it was like her just like scraping, like holding me tight, like stay here, stay with me, stay away. And she was like I was like, I don't even know who that was. It wasn't me operating. Like I texted you, like we broke up. Like I was doing all of these things so that way like I couldn't go back. And I don't believe if I hadn't done the work, that I wouldn't have been able, like we would probably still be together.
Yep. Or you'd be with somebody just like them.
Exactly. So I think it's very ironic that was the reason I started, and the reason I left is the same reason. And I think it's a beautiful evolution.
It is. That's the thing. It's like none of this stuff. I mean, again, it's on this side of it. When you're in it, it's literal hell. And I want to empathize with everybody who's in it. Because I think about when I'm at the worst of it, oh my God. Like, I don't expect anyone to have this rosy colored vision when you're in it.
Yeah. And you told me that. You're like,
yeah,
you're going to one day be so happy and think this is so beautiful,
and you're like, fuck you. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're not there yet, we're not there yet, and that's okay. But we can just be the vision holders for anybody who's listening, because it can feel so helpless. I mean, I think about the worst parts of like my anxious attachment journey, and it's just like, it's completely helpless and hopeless, and you're in chronic pain. Like, you're in chronic emotional pain,
and like the only way to soothe it is to go back. Some people might feel,
and it feels like that. It's like this drug. Like, you cannot breathe, you can't, like, it feels like you're gonna die. But when you can start to understand that is a younger part of you that has this insatiable need that's not going to be filled by another romantic partner, and a lot of times it takes people like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 relationships that are ending the same exact way, just a different flavor.
Yeah, I'm like, why do I keep dating the same person in a different body?
Yeah, same patterns, but it's like, it's this part of you crying out for you. And that is the most frustrating. There's still sometimes where this really triggers me, like when I'm in an emotional flashback of my own, where it's just like, I deeply resent that I have to be that for myself. I want to speak to this because this can be so triggering when doing this work. It's like, what do I have to look forward to? That I'm the only one for me? And it's like, no and yes. I mean, it's both. It's that, yes, really at the end of the day, you have to have you. And no one else is going to have you in the way that you want until you have you. So you can still have that.
Yeah.
I have so many beautiful connections that I could never imagine, like people who fucking love me, and I feel so loved, and I feel so safe, and I'm reparented by them constantly.
Yeah.
And that only happened because I am ruthless in my own self-love, and that's getting mirrored back to me in my reality because I'm ruthless in my own self-love. And I think that's what people have to look forward to.
Right.
Is that if you can't love yourself, people around you, you're going to attract people who also don't love you.
Yeah.
And when you become like, no.
You embody it.
Yeah. When you're like, no, this is what I deserve. This is how I'm going to treat myself. This is how I'm going to be treated. Only those people can fit through the cracks. Like only those people that meet that criteria can be in your life.
And that just like goes back to like literally everything like you've been saying is like the anger. You'll start to follow it and be like,
it wants to protect you.
I'm going to remove myself from this.
Yeah.
So the only thing left are the people that don't do that.
Yeah.
It's that love you, that embody love.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we'll speak to this again for anyone listening. Like it's incremental. It's like, because it can feel very scary to be like, oh my God, I'm going to be alone. I have to cut out everyone from my life. And it's like, no.
I deal with that still.
No, yeah. And it's like, that's not been your experience. That was not my experience.
No.
It's actually, you have to just keep all the people you want in your life. Keep the toxic boyfriend. Okay. Keep him as long as you want him, forever if you'd like. And you can still do this process of growing your own capacity for your own self-love. And even if you just do that, you're going to be happier.
Like you were saying, incremental. It's like eventually they just like won't like the version of you anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like a you know, to them that it might feel that way a little bit just because of what they can tolerate. But like I don't even know exactly.
You won't be attracted.
Yes.
And
like they won't like you, like how you, like, cause you will set boundaries.
Yeah.
Like it'll start happening slowly. There will be boundaries. You will start being more calm. Like that was part of the problem. I started being calm and walking away when things came up and say like, I need time. And that was so triggering to that person. And so he started like hating this new version of me. And it was so crazy because I'm like, I actually am like starting to really love myself.
And when I would get to those places in relationship, it was like whenever I could really feel in, I'd have like a really good session or like really feel into my emotions or care for my inner child, I'd kind of come to and be like, nothing about this person is attractive.
Yeah.
Now that I'm seeing it clearly, out from the lens of attachment, what the fuck do they do for me? And I remember these really humbling moments where I would like, people would be like, what do you like about them? And I'm like, like that is like a triggering, when you're in an anxious attachment thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Or the question.
I didn't get there. I ripped it off way before I think that happened.
Something that really triggered me that I remember seeing on Instagram was, if you had a kid with this person and your kid turned out exactly like them, would you be happy or would you be sad?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck. I would be
Yeah.
displeased.
Yeah.
I would be really sad.
I played that over and in my head like quite a bit, like from the very beginning, and it used to be a yes, and then it quickly became fuck no.
Yeah. And then what people do is they hold on to potential and they're going, I
Yeah.
know who this person can be. And if my
Yeah.
kid was like who this person could be, then yes. And then we spend years
that's
playing.
like the only reason I stayed for so long.
Yeah.
Because I was like trying to get back to that. I'm like, oh, but you used to be this person.
Yeah.
Like then I became to like over operate and like be like, okay, I have all these tools now. So then I can do this emotional work to fix us. And it just didn't.
And it's like, and people, and
You can't.
anxious attachment people, and I can speak as one of them, we are on a high horse. We're just so healthy. Like, we're the healthy one in relationship because we're not running from our problems. and anxious attachment.
He's afraid to love me.
Yeah.
I have said that. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, he just
loves
so
me, he's just
avoidant.
afraid.
He doesn't know how to have conversations, and we're like, they're so avoidant when really we are avoiding ourselves.
Yeah.
They're avoiding us. We're avoiding us. We are equally as avoidant.
100%.
Right.
Honestly, I did want to ask you, can you be both?
Yeah, of
Anxious
course.
and avoidant? Because I'm like, I think I'm both.
Yeah, I think most people are.
And it might like switch per partner, or maybe even
Yeah, I think
same partner, just different times.
I think within 30 seconds. I think within 4 seconds you could be one or the other.
Yeah.
Like I can see myself in a dynamic where I'm just like, I want to be close to you, and then I feel rejected, and then I'm like, fuck you, I'm breaking up with you. I mean, that can happen. That can happen in an instant.
I like frequently make the joke, and like people are like, this is like so Gemini of you. I'm like, this is my personality trait. But I'm like, this is like what I say. I'm like, I will cut someone off and make them question their own existence. And I thought it was like so cool.
Yeah, that's called repressed anger.
I'm like, don't fuck with me.
Yeah, that's you trying to get a sense of control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know that you were kind of talking about how scary it is to feel alone. And I want to just make sure that we like really talked it completely through and didn't miss anything. Because like one of the notes that I wrote down was one of my, because like, here's the thing. When I started working with you, I would only feel my feelings in session. And then eventually I felt confident and comfortable enough within my own body to start, as things would pop up, I started processing them without you. And there were times like where I would bully myself. And I'm like, oh, like this is the homework. Like, and I would try to just like do it as quickly as possible. And that's just, you know, me and trying to be like a perfectionist, which is this whole other trauma response. But like, so number one, just with that side tangent, like you told me again, go really slow. Don't bully yourself. It should feel good. It shouldn't feel horrible. But I think in those moments, like when I was kind of bullying myself, one of the scariest feelings I have ever felt was like, holy fuck, I'm alone.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to kind of talk about that, make sure that I know you started talking about it a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure like we kind of completely vetted it.
Yeah. As you were talking through this, I was thinking that what can be helpful for people to see what's actually going on is we become emotionally stunted when we don't get the care that we need. And so I would say a lot of people are stunted at like age 5, age 4, like emotionally. and have created like some defenses and have learned socially through life to get to maybe like a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old emotionally. But what's happening, like when you were saying like, I could only feel in session with you. Okay, well, think about a child. Like we need the safety of an adult.
Yeah.
We need the safety of an adult. Otherwise we are in complete fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And so
I would disassociate afterwards.
Yeah.
So I would use
Yeah.
what I've learned to keep myself safe.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the wall goes back up.
Yep. And that's what we have to do as a kid when we are 4 years old or 3 years old and we get sent to our room to think about what we've done. And we are alone for the first time looking around the room being like, wait, what? The only option is dissociation. We maybe scream for an hour, scream for 2 hours and until we realize that that's not,
Like no one's coming for us.
no one's coming for us. And then we dissociate.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's super sad. But that's where we are. That's where we are. And that's that's what was happening for you. And that's what happens for a lot of people is, yeah, you needed a nervous system. This is just basic human development. We need another nervous system to feel safe enough to get into this vulnerable state.
Right.
And so that's what was happening developmentally. Every single time you and I were meeting, you were aging emotionally.
Me.
Yeah. And that's, we all need that.
Yeah.
And so if you think about each session, you're like, oh, I'm a few months older emotionally. And then I'm a few months until the point that you're like, no, I'm going to do it on my own. Right? Like you got to a healthy,
being stubborn.
No, in a good way.
I'm like a little teenager.
That's a healthy autonomy. This is what happens developmentally. Think about it.
Yeah.
Like when a kid feels safe and secure in a relationship, they're going to start to say, no, let me do it. Let me put the peanut butter on my sandwich. I can do it.
Yeah.
That's healthy. You're getting autonomy. You're getting good. And to the point where eventually you're a teenager coming home from school and you don't even think about it. And you're just making your own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You don't need your mom.
Right.
And
which I like to think that's somewhat where I'm at. There's some times where I still need to phone a friend.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, it's healthy to need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to feel like we can go and get support.
Okay. I love that so much. I had never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing shameful about anything that we just talked about. I could see how it could seem that way where it's like, oh, well, most of humanity is
no shame.
Yeah. I'm just saying like the analogy of like being a kid or something. Like some people could be like, I'm an adult. It's like, yeah, but like emotionally when you don't get your needs met, this is just how the nervous system works. It doesn't mean anything about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because because I didn't know how to do it on my own because I was, a toddler emotionally. Like that's when like suicidal ideation can pop in and be like, oh my God, like I don't even want to feel these feelings anymore. I'm going to exit.
Absolutely. And just to normalize this too, because it's like, I'm here. We've pretty much established that I'm really good at this shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm very good at my job. I often get into a toddler state still where I cannot get out on my own. So I want to share that to be like, okay, here's me over here.
Yeah.
And I still, even though I teach this for a living, even though I can sit and talk about this on a podcast, whatever, there's still many moments where I need to phone a friend and be like, I actually need some help reparenting right now. Like when I get into an emotional flashback and I get to those places where I feel very alone. Now I will say it's
your Rolodex. You went back.
Yeah. Over the years, it becomes significant, as you know, you experience this too. It's significantly less intense and it's definitely less often.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, like some of my core shit will get triggered and I'm like calling up my mentor and I'm like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
SOS help.
Yes. Help me. And it's like, no one is immune to that.
Yeah.
No one is immune to that.
I'm so glad you said that, especially like if someone's like working with you or wanting to work with you in the future, because, and I don't know if this was just like my own personal stuff, but I would constantly, it was definitely a comparison. Like I would compare myself to you. And I'm like, I was comparing my toddler self to wherever you would say you were at, like in your processing, whether you're in college or whatever, or beyond, adult, like professional. Yeah. And I don't know if I said this to you or if maybe you picked up on it because like you're super intuitive, but you did start like telling me more personal stories and explaining like, yeah, like I do that too. And that helped me so much because I was like, ugh, I just feel like I'm always fucking up.
Yeah. And it's like, it's never done.
Right.
I mean, both things are true. It's like, it's never done and it gets better. You know, like I think back to me at my worst and oh my God, I was literally chronically anxious, chronically depressed, very suicidal, miserable person. Yeah. Like using every defense and distraction under the sun. And that is not where I am at. Yeah. And I still get triggered. Yeah. I don't know.
Because we're human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no one's perfect. I think before I didn't even understand, and I think that part of it goes like with our sessions, but like also like with like the coursework, like, I didn't understand what was even happening, and then you start to get language for it, and like I couldn't identify it, so like it's processed. Like I didn't know what was happening, and then I started seeing you. I didn't have language for it or didn't fully know how to identify it, so then I would tell you like, hey, I'm experiencing this, and then you would help me identify it. And then I'm kind of like in this way of I can now like, oh, I know I'm triggered and I can identify it. It doesn't always, like sometimes I still need you to get out of that, but it's so much more helpful to like put language to it and identify it and be like, oh, that's what's happening. And then it just helps everything.
Yeah, it does. It's way less scary when we know what's happening. Yeah. That's why, again, going back to like Groundwork Academy and like why I did it the way that I did it is because we can get so much deeper into the work so much faster when we understand what's happening. I mean, just literally understanding neuroplasticity, and I put it in such a kindergarten hilarious way. I should probably update those graphics. I don't know. Do you remember what it is? No. It's so funny, especially with AI. I'm sure I could have some beautiful graphic, but I literally made like the fuggliest like graphic of like a forest, and then I put, do you remember? And I like copy pasted like a pavement, like it doesn't even look.
It's like a little road.
Like nothing about it is good. Nothing about it.
I think that adds to the character.
I think so too.
It's so you.
It makes it so less intimidating because it's not this big. It's like literally, I just needed this visual of like, Anyways, like understanding.
You're good at helping me with emotions. I'm good at making a PowerPoint. You know, it's
yeah. One of these days, I'll like keep the old one just for laughs. I'm like, this is what I used to do, but then AI. Yeah. But anyways, understanding neuroplasticity in a kindergarten level, going through the change triangle and understanding our defenses and why we do what we do. It's so crazy. One of my favorite things is the first 2 sessions with somebody. And when they're just like, oh my gosh, like it all makes sense. Like literally just reviewing neuroplasticity and the change triangle, those 2 things. Yeah. People are like, I get it. I'm in. I understand. And it's like, there's nothing better than that. Yeah. There's nothing better that's like, you have the buy-in now. You understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so many of the defenses go down.
Right. Yeah. I think I got part of that from just like the podcast episode. So I had a little preview. Yeah. You know, but it really, because like the whole time I was like, yeah, I'm like doing so much better. Which I was.
You were.
I totally was.
You were. And listen, 2 years from now, we're going to be back here on this couch or in a different couch in a different state or something, right? And
doing it virtually.
And you're going to be like, oh my God, look how healed I thought I was.
I know.
We're going to both be doing it.
I know.
And we're going to be like way more badass versions of ourselves.
Absolutely. And just like the more you were talking, I was like, oh, she's got a point. She's got something there. This is making a lot of sense. So, and I think like I ultimately knew it deep down, you know, because I'd been saying to people all the time, like, yeah, I probably need to really do the work. Versus just like guiding myself through podcasts. Yeah. You can only do so much.
Well, I'm glad you say that though, because there's so many people who are like chronically reading self-help books, chronically listening to the podcasts, doing all the things. Yeah. Nothing is going to get you like experiencing it. Yeah. You need to get into your body. You need to feel the feelings. You can intellectualize your feelings literally your whole life. Most people do. Yep. They think their feelings. And until you learn how to feel your feelings, you are trapped.
Totally. And feeling trapped is exactly what it was. Suffering, that's 100, like trapped, suffering, just in survival mode. And like sometimes I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I survived.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah, it's hell. I mean, back to just a quick spiritual blip. I think that's what hell is. That's my belief of what hell is when we're merged with the ego. I don't think hell is a place. I think hell is a state of mind. When I think about where I was when I was merged with my ego, meaning I was the black card, I was totally in survival, merged with my mind. I cannot think of a worse hell than that. Everything sucks. No, you are void of love. You forget that you're God completely. You don't feel love at all, which is the absence of God. Because people describe hell as the absence of God. When you're merging with your mind, everything sucks and you are far from God. You know, you're not really, because everything is one and you can't be. But it's this illusion. You're so bogged down in your illusions, the illusions of the mind, that you are in hell.
I like that.
And I think that...
I'm going to think about this a lot.
And I also think that the same is true with heaven.
Yeah.
Right? Is that... You know, like you can be, there's a Bible verse. It's too far in the past to try to reclaim it. ChatGPT, tell me. But about like heaven being on earth, or some person listening would know, comment it and whatever. But but I think the same is true. What I'm getting at is I think the same is true here, because I experience so much peace and joy and love where I'm just like, even in some of my hardest times, like I'll be going through something that's like objectively challenging, and I'll have so much peace, and because I just know that it's divine. I know that it's here to teach me something, and I think heaven is a state of mind, hell is a state of mind, here and now.
Yeah, you're so good at that.
What?
Like the like reframing your mind, or maybe it's just like a true embodiment, or combination of just like, because I think it was just last session I was describing how I was like, I knew that I should have done this and that, and I was like frustrated because I'm like, I had the knowing, but I wasn't I couldn't leave or do the whatever. And you were like, that's an opportunity to be like, like that's something that you still need fixed. Like the universe gave that to you.
Yeah, it's all neutral.
Yeah.
It's all neutral. It's our mind that wants to say like, I shouldn't have done that. When we know that should and shouldn't is a defense of the mind, we are free. There is no should or shouldn't. It's just, what do you want and what do you not want? It's not that I shouldn't kill somebody. Is that actually in alignment with my authenticity? Do I actually want that?
Yeah.
Hell no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
There's no one that wants that.
I love when you ask me those questions, when I say like such definitives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, do you really think that? And I'm like, no. Like, so bad. I don't, but I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think like a lot of it's like, I fucking hate men. You're like, do you hate all men? I go,
no, who are you actually?
and then I like
at?
picture like a couple people that I really genuinely love, and I love our like friendship, and I'm like, no, I don't hate those men, but those are the exceptions. Yeah. Who are you really mad at?
Yeah. Who are you actually mad at? That's the question. I mean, we're getting on tangents, but anytime it's like I could just talk about this stuff all day, but anytime anyone hates themselves or generalizes hate to the world, who are you actually mad at? And that's a very humbling question.
Yeah.
We go, everyone.
Yeah.
Fucking everyone. Everyone sucks. Look around.
Sometimes I really feel it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, no. But if you were brave in this moment and you were humble, because being humble is brave.
And that's what it does.
If you were humble, who are you actually mad at?
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't tell, even though like subconsciously I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing
then
is,
you tell me to go in. You're like, well, let's go feel.
Yeah, that was the next point, is that a lot of people don't know, and they have to stay in this generalization because they do not know how to enter their body. Not because they don't know, because they haven't had a nervous system like regulated enough in a safe enough environment to be brave enough to sink into the body where the answer is.
Yeah.
Because your body knows who you're mad at.
And going back to anger, like I was afraid to be mad at anyone because then I was bad. And I know you kind of mentioned that, but like that's truly like anytime I'd be like talking definitives or whatever this or that, or I have this feeling like you tell me to go inward, and I'm like, there's no, like I know I'm fucking pissed at this person, but it wasn't safe for me to do it.
Well, a lot of people think if I get angry, I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
I'll be bad.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to.
Right.
You literally don't have, you could sit here and you could feel and process healthy anger, and you don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. Now you might get to a place where your anger naturally feels like you want to act. But for example, people will be like, I'm so afraid of being mad at my mom because then I will not have her in my life. Mm-hmm. And it's like, maybe.
Right.
Or maybe you're just free and you figure out a way, it's not this black and white thing is what I'm getting at. People are so afraid of feeling their anger because then I will do something. I'll text that person and cuss them out. No, you won't.
Yeah.
That's lashing out.
If anything, it's the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Yeah. And but it's important to talk about because people associate, if I let this fire burn, I will burn everything down.
Yeah.
No, you'll stop burning everything down.
Yeah. Oh, that is so funny. I haven't thought about something like this in a long time. I would text people or respond to people that I knew I shouldn't be talking to. And I haven't done that in a long time. Yeah. And I don't even think about it.
Yeah. You've outgrown it.
Yeah.
Girly pop. That's how it goes.
Snaps for me.
It's in it, like when old decisions just feel like, I would literally never even consider that.
Yeah, like, who's she? That was a different girl.
Literally. I think about decisions that I made and I'm like, I would literally never.
Yeah. I love it so much. I did want to kind of play like a funny little game with you.
Okay.
So
fun.
I wrote down just a list of like natural remedies or therapies for mental health. Mm-hmm. And so in your opinion, I want you to rate them on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how much you love them, how much you like strongly dislike them.
Okay.
So like 10.
Oh, this is kind of fun.
1. Okay. So first one, meditation.
10.
Talk therapy.
2.
Acupuncture.
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know.
I was wondering, like, has she ever done this?
I have done acupuncture.
Okay.
I don't think I've done it consistently enough, but I do think I believe in it. Yeah. So I believe in it
and I've never done it.
I believe in it. I have done it and I have experienced like an energy flow through my body.
Okay.
It's in alignment with my belief system. But acupuncture for what? I guess I think it probably is a supportive thing. My only thing with it is it's expensive, and I personally have not experienced good enough results for me to invest the money in it long term.
Okay.
But I think if I was a millionaire, when I'm a millionaire, I will do probably weekly acupuncture.
Okay, I love that.
Does that answer your question?
1 to 10.
I'm going to say 5 because middle of the road. I don't know.
Okay. Ayahuasca.
Never done it.
Okay.
And I would say it's very dependent on the person. I would never, ever say that everybody should do that in the same way, any psychedelics or anything, I think is ayahuasca will call to you if you're meant to do it. Mm-hmm. And if you are in a really mentally fucked place, maybe not.
Yeah. So 5, give or take.
I would say, when it's correct, 10.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
Like
answer.
when it's correct, but it's not for everyone, and it's not for everyone all the time. Mm-hmm. There needs to be some discernment in that. Like, am I escaping something?
Yeah.
I think if you are called to ayahuasca, it should feel like a calm knowing. It should not feel frantic. It should not feel panicked, and it should not feel like it's going to solve your problems. I think people get into people who have bad experiences or where it turns really dark for them is when they think it's the missing piece.
Yep.
It's not.
Or like doing all the work, fixing all the things.
Yeah, a lot of people want to have this big experience and then they don't know how to integrate. Someone like you would do very well with ayahuasca because you understand.
I was thinking the opposite.
No, you understand the integration process.
Okay.
I think it's very problematic when people are new to healing work or just like want to,
Yep.
If you're called, you're called. I'm not, whatever. But I think if you don't know how to integrate what you learn,
yeah.
And I've watched this happen to people. I know people who have done ayahuasca and I've watched them not know how to integrate. And it really just creates a bigger spiritual ego.
Yeah.
If you don't actually know how to integrate the things that you're learning. So anyways, 10 if it's right for you.
Yeah.
0 if it's not.
Yeah. I also just want to quickly say, like, I can't remember the example, but you were saying, yeah, like your inner child just really wants that. Like a lot of times, like when you think like you're grabbing for something, it's just like your inner child, but that's not like your healed self.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's like a panicked. It's like a panicked. What's the next thing that's going to help me?
Yeah.
And whenever we're panicked, that's not something we want to listen to.
Right. Exposure therapy.
Sure. I think it can be. I think there's some usefulness to it, but I think it's. I guess I want to say like
I'm so happy. I knew that one was going to be like a difficult.
It's interesting because it's like it's pretty neutral in and of itself. But I've heard some stories of like, no, just exposing yourself to something is not going to help you.
Well, I was thinking like if your nervous system can't handle
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like that's bulldozing your inner child.
Exactly. So exactly. But I think there's a spectrum of this.
Yeah.
Where someone would be like, okay, let's together really safely. We do exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Very safely and very slowly and very contained.
Yeah.
And we're not ever just throwing you in the ring with the thing that you're afraid of.
Yeah.
We're breathing with it and creating safety. So I guess as the way most people think about it, 1 out of 10, 0 out of 10.
Oh.
If you're just throwing someone in the ring.
Yeah.
Like if you're afraid of flying, no. Do I think we should just like make you go into an airplane?
Right.
Hell no.
Right. Like the example I'm thinking of is like when I was really anxious of going to that creator event.
Yeah.
And you were like, you don't have to go. Like you gave me the option.
Yeah.
And then you're like, and if you choose to go, reward yourself afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what I'm saying. Like,
and so it's like, yay,
I think exposure therapy can be in bad therapy and it can be in good therapy.
Yeah.
Depending on how much you're caring for your nervous system.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by where we got that 0 or 1.
I guess I would give it like a 5. It's neutral.
No, let's keep with 0.
Okay. It's just neutral depending on who's
Which I'm sure some of these
for sure. Yeah, I guess it's true about all of them.
Not all of them. I feel like you're gonna. Never mind.
Okay.
I'm giving it away. Okay. Cold plunge.
7.
Okay.
Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Because I think for certain people in certain places in their healing journey, it can be a really good, helpful thing.
Yeah.
But for somebody who, it can also be very jarring to a nervous system.
Yeah.
I
was just explaining that this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, but I didn't look it up at all. I just heard.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure. Because I still don't think my body, I think my body like is very sensitive still.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm meant for that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that's the thing. I think with all these, it's like you really have to tune into your own nervous system and yeah.
Yeah. Nature walks.
10.
Exercise.
10.
Positive affirmations.
10, as long as you're doing other things.
SSRIs.
Oh.
Which is just like depression meds.
This is a tricky one because I could do a whole 4-hour podcast on this, but I will say
we did talk about it a little bit on the last.
I'll say a 1 out of 10.
Okay.
And that one being if you are suicidal, then it's for you.
Okay.
If you're going to kill yourself, sure, give it a whirl. But even then, the risks are being more suicidal.
Yep.
I want to give it a 0 out of 10, but
right.
I think that would paint a false light where I would say there's never a scenario. I don't think there's never a scenario, but I think it's the literal last resort.
Okay. I knew that one. Mm-hmm. A glass of wine to relax.
0 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yoga.
Sure. 10.
Ashwagandha.
It probably interacts with everybody differently. I haven't noticed a huge difference, and I remember reading something that says that if you take it long term, it can do something unhelpful.
That's what I keep seeing it long term, not recommended, and I can't find why it's not recommended.
I forget, but
I looked it up and I was like, I can't figure this out.
I remember learning it and being like, oh shit, that's actually like serious.
Yeah.
So
I didn't notice a difference, but this was like way before I even started working with you.
For me, I used it. It could be placebo, but I think for people who are used to taking like Xanax or like Ativan or some sort of anxiety med or a depression med or something, it can be really helpful to have an act of taking a pill. Or like, I'm trying to get off sleeping pills. Okay. Let's
Kind
have
of like your brain
I think
tricking itself.
And if that's the case, I think, take ashwagandha over melatonin or over a Xanax. Okay. Yeah. Cause it's just a plant.
None of it works for me.
Yeah. But anyways, I think it can be useful for that. And but I just want to disclaimer, I actually don't know enough to have an opinion about ashwagandha.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my expertise.
I know like some people use it for that. And I even tried it at one point. And it's like when you're trying to like put a Band-Aid on like a
I would say in terms of
a wound this size.
If the question if the question is this a therapeutic modality, I would say 1 out of 10 because it doesn't replace therapy.
I will skip that. Okay. Weed, marijuana.
Again, set and setting is everything. I think it can be useful, but in terms of a therapeutic modality, I would say 1 or 2 out of 10. I mean,
okay. I wasn't sure on this one.
I think I think it can be very useful, but I also think it can be very harmful.
Yeah. To me, it's not good.
Yeah. I think that's true for a lot of people. I think, I've had clients take a gummy and then do a session and they, and we're like using the medicine. But I think a lot of times most people are using it to numb. Yeah. To run from. Yeah.
To sleep.
But
that's.
Yeah, it's not, it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. But that does not to say that, I've had life-changing, really important things happen to me.
Really?
Through weed. Yeah. At some point in my journey, I think it's been a very long time since, I don't have much desire for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it helped open my third eye a bit in the beginning.
Okay.
But in terms of therapy, I would say 1 out of 10.
Yeah. It just, any type of substance just doesn't go with me at all. My body just freaks out.
It doesn't also give you long-term.
I'm like such a sensitive person with everything.
Yeah.
Okay, last one, journaling.
3 out of 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, journaling is your mind.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people just get into a trauma loop. It's just, you're just in a conversation with your ego. And it just perpetuates really painful. I think you have to have a baseline for journaling to be useful. Maybe a prompt like, write compassionately to your inner child. Or otherwise people are just fixating.
People say that it's getting it out of their body.
Yeah, I think that there's some truth to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, but again, depending on the person, a lot of people don't have this, like, will just go and talk shit about themselves and others.
Yeah. That's so funny. People have been telling me that I need to start journaling, and it's just like one thing I haven't.
It's really, sure. I think every person is different, and it's like, if you're feeling better afterwards, great.
Right.
A lot of people feel frustrated because they journal and they're like, why do I not feel better? I journal every day. And it's like, yeah, because you need some other resources to actually be in connection with, have it be a connective practice rather than like a spiraling practice.
Yeah. For me, it's always just kind of like, I feel like this is like one thing I have to do. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Prompts can be helpful for that. But
that's a good idea. Just to kind of like close this out, I did want to talk more personally about your experience since like moving to San Diego and how you feel like you've changed. What have you learned? This can go any which way. And like for me personally, obviously like our dynamic is like I come to session, you help me. But just from watching you on social media and, just I get to know you too through session as well, just because that's normal. I feel like you're just such a different person. And it's been like so beautiful just seeing this journey and you like taking the plunge and moving there.
Yeah, I do feel like a different person.
Yeah, you are.
It felt just like, it was a really big decision. In some ways it was like the easiest decision. In some ways it was the hardest decision. But
can I ask you a quick question? Yeah. How long were you considering moving? I don't know if it was necessarily San Diego, but like, was there a process?
Like probably 7 years. Because I was living in... I
hear so many people say that.
I was living in Minneapolis at the time, and two of my best friends that were living there moved to San Diego. And I was like, they're like, you should come. I'm like, yeah, well, someday. That's when the seed was planted.
Okay.
And then, I went and visited them, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe next year, maybe in a few, I'll end up here.
It's always kind of like down the road.
And then I go and I travel Europe, and then I move back to Fort Wayne, and then I, did, and then every winter I would go visit there. And each winter I'd be like, maybe next year, until I couldn't put it off anymore. And I'm like, oh, it's time.
Yeah.
The stars aligned. I was getting out of a relationship. I could tell Fort Wayne couldn't do anything for me anymore. I could see that I was at the end of what Fort Wayne could offer me. Mm-hmm. And I'd milked everything I could out of it. And then, it's just like a whole new layer. It felt like a level up, like a whole next layer of the game.
Like it almost feels like you just like discovered so much of yourself like so quickly.
Well, it's like, it felt like I needed a bigger like aquarium, how the fit, like you can only grow.
Yeah. Like a turtle keeps growing and then it won't grow anymore. If
it was like, I could just tell I needed, and that's what it's been for me, is like, there's so much more for me to explore. There's so many more edges for me to explore. Yeah. It just feels like a vast. Yeah. And there's just so many like-minded people that I've met, and I knew that's what it would be. I knew that it's like I remember being in Fort Wayne and just like, I really just want to be friends with other coaches and other people who are in this world that I'm in. And now I'm literally surrounded by people doing the work that I have more than I could possibly want. Yeah.
And that probably comes like from, because can you explain like it's probably just the law of detachment without us actually talking about it. Yeah. Like, if you felt more anxiously attached, you wouldn't be attracting these people to make friends. Yeah, that's the truest thing. And I've actually experienced this in real time where I'm like, I could feel, it's fun to remember this though, because I can feel when I moved there, I had some inferiority. Oh. Where I was like, oh, I wanted this. And now when I'm in the presence of other coaches, I feel very small. Like, around my like non-coach friends, I would feel very like, I'm the coach, like I'm smart. And then I'd be in front of other coaches or other therapists or whatever and be like, oh, am I? There was something intimidating like
about that.
Imposter syndrome.
Which is so interesting to think back to. Yeah. But I do remember feeling like this sense of comparison, and I had to work through my own blocks to then feel like, maybe like there was some self-sabotage of like, oh, I have to be kind of like smaller than. I don't know. Does that make sense? Yeah, I had to be like kind of smaller than. And I had to do my own inner work to be like, oh no, like, we're the same. Yeah. I love that so much. Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting hearing you say that, because like the version of you that I know is just like so confident and so like true to themselves, and so I can't even picture you. Like I get it just from like a inner child perspective, because I've experienced that myself.
Girl, I have a shadow part of me that is so insecure. Yeah. The confident coach, it's so real, and it's deeply my authenticity. Right. And there is also truth to that, like it is what I had to become to hide this little anxious bitch that I hate, and it's been this journey of learning to love the part of me that's terrified. But my impulse is to hate my fear. Now I'm healing it. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work. But every once in a while, some relationship or something triggers this thing where it's just like, I feel so exposed. And when I feel exposed, I'm like, I hate that bitch. Yeah. I hate the part of me that's afraid. But anyways, another tangent. I just want to say that, like, I just wanted to speak to the fact that I also have those parts in myself that I reject, and that I also am afraid, even though I'm very confident. I'm also very afraid. Right. I'm both.
Right. I mean, yeah, because, like, it's so easy to go online and, like, you're not showing all of those parts of yourself. So to me, it looks like you just went there and you thrived. But, like, it's so nice to hear that, even someone that embodies it 99% or however many, whatever percentage you identify with it, that you still, it makes total sense.
Yeah. Like, there's been tons of inner work that has gone into this. Always. Everything that I manifest, there's been tons of inner work that came right before it. So,
and I think, and I don't know if I already said this up top, but I think the piece of me, because I like looking at your emotions and your shadow parts may seem scary at first, But I get like excited like when I kind of like peel another layer off. I'm like, oh,
once you
like there you are.
Yeah, once you have you see the benefit 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
It becomes the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. And like once you know, like you can tolerate it, because that was, it was like kind of like 2 parts. It's like it was scary, and I didn't think I could tolerate it. And one thing that you always say to me is you understand why it would maybe feel like I'm afraid to feel this or whatever it is, like, or I'm scared. But number 1, feeling it is for me. And number 2, and like that's a good thing. And I always try, I keep it, I'm like, okay, this is for me, this is for me. And then number 2, it's like, I think I was explaining this like on one of the other episodes, but like sometimes it feels like so big or endless, like the feeling is this big, but sometimes it just takes feeling it for like 1 second and then you're kind of through it. So it doesn't, just because it feels that way doesn't necessarily mean it is. And
that's just what it felt like when you were little.
Right. And that's helpful to like remind myself too. That makes it less scary.
Yeah.
So I will tag all the things in the description of the episode.
Yes.
And then on my socials, so the Oat Pod, once I clip everything, I'll tag you and people can find you that way if they don't go to the description. But yeah, like I personally, I know you kind of go in phases, it seems, with like Groundwork Coaching, like posting, but you guys are super consistent on Self-Seeking School. But I still recommend following both, because when you do, it's like,
and I'm really trying to get better at posting on Groundwork. I have a lot of content in the wings.
good.
It's just the discipline. When having a business partner, like having Devin on Self-Seeking, keeps me accountable. So
I was wondering.
So I post on that all the time because we have an agreement. We have a goal and an agreement.
Yeah.
And it's much harder when it's just myself and I'm just my own boss.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and
it's the best.
I'm so glad we made this work. I was so excited.
Me too.
Because it's become one of like my favorite things to talk about, and who better to talk about it with than the person partially responsible.
Yeah, this is fun. I feel like because of our dynamic, I mean, it was fun before we worked together. It was so fun because you're just so eager and like into, you know, and now
I was like, fix me, Madison.
But it's just, I think that's the most fun person to talk to or work with is somebody who's like ready and like genuinely curious and eager.
Right.
Because we just get so far so fast. Like you come to a session, you came to the podcast just like, I'm ready. What do you have to teach me? Like, you know, just this like openness. List. And that's really fun. But now having like worked together for 1.5 years or 2 years or however long it's been.
Yeah.
It's so fun because we've gone on this whole journey together. We have even more of a shared language. Yep. It's just fun. I'm glad to be here.
This is going to be such a different vibe, I feel. But I mean, I'm so, and again, like it is, like once you're doing the work, it's so different. But I'm like, you have all of this knowledge, and I just want people to hear it.
Yeah.
So, like, you need to start your own podcast.
It's on the radar, but there's too many things at once.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
One day.
For sure. Yeah. Well, if you need a producer, let me know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, follow me at abbyjeanmccarville and the Oat Pod. And thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Oh.
Is that claps?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's other ones. I don't know what these other two are. Oh.
That's fun.
Oh, yeah. We should have been doing jokes.
Dang, we should have. I like the clapping. That's fun.
Okay.
Oh.